And welcome back to our show. My next guest is a Country Music Award-winning recording artist, a New York Times best-selling author. He's a keynote speaker and an advocate for children in foster care. Please welcome Jimmy Wayne. Jimmy, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so impressed. Some of the songs you write, powerful messages. We're going to get to hear one of them here in a little while. A lot of people can write songs, they can't perform them. Some people can perform, they can't write. Why is it you do both and do it so well?
Well, I started writing in the 6th grade. My 6th grade teacher encouraged me to write, and that evolved into writing poems and songs and, of course, books. But I just fell in love with singers as a young kid. I loved singers, so I'd always pretend I was them. And over a period of time, that would...
Who'd you pretend to be mostly?
Well, I just was anybody... I mean, wow. Well, I'm a huge Hall & Oates fan, speaking of Hall & Oates, yeah.
Playing it,
yeah,
coming
I know.
in tonight.
I heard them over there playing it. I like great singers, country singers, any kind of genre of music. I mean, just great singers. I was a huge fan.
Life has not always been really a cake for you with all the icing and candles on top. You've had some tough times. Grew up in a foster home, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I grew up in multiple foster homes. I went in when I was 8 years old and was moved around quite a bit, along with my sister, younger sister, and ended up aging out. I was on my own at 16. Ended up living on the streets for a while in North Carolina, and I was rescued by a wonderful Christian family in their mid-70s. Took me in and,
wow.
Really gave me a chance to go back to school. I had quit school. Gave me a chance to go back to school, go to college, pursue and catch my dream of playing music. And
if they had not reached out to you, what would have happened?
Well, actually, I always say it was a voice that I'd hear periodically throughout my childhood, and that voice spoke to me one day and said, "You need to go in that wood shop and ask the elderly man if he has any work you can do," and I did. And so I kind of reached out to them for help, for work, because I believe that working is the cure for about 99.9% of all.
Absolutely
of all of
true,
this.
Jimmy.
So I learned to work as a young boy, and you can read this story in the book Walk the Beautiful, but I learned to work, and that was always my lifeline, kept me fed, so I asked this gentleman if he had any work I could do, and he said, he didn't look at me. He was a 79-year-old World War II veteran. He said, "You need to ask the boss," and pointed at his wife, nodded his head toward his wife, and I asked this lady, she walked toward me, looked me up and down, despite the way I looked on the outside, because I was living outside. She said, "Come back this afternoon to cut our grass at 5 o'clock. And I didn't show up at 5. I showed up at 4:30 because when you're hungry, you're on time.
Yeah.
The job starts at 5.
That's so true, yeah.
So I moved in, cut grass that summer, and every week she would always bring me a Coca-Cola and a donut and a $20 bill to the fence, and we'd talk. She'd talk, I'd listen, and it was always small talk about the weather, talk about the job I was doing. And toward the end of the summer, I was nervous because I didn't have a place to live, didn't have a job lined up, I didn't have a home, and that day she walked out there and gave me that Coca-Cola, that donut, $20 bill, and she just had this concerned look in her eyes, and she asked me where I lived. And I gave her the most honest, general answer I could think of. I looked at her right in her beautiful face and said, "Up the road." And she's pretty smart. She said, "Well, Russell and I have been talking and want to know if you'd be interested in moving into our home." And here I was, 16, my hair's down my back, my faded little tattoos up my left arm, because I'm right-handed. Don't give these kids an art kit, I tell you. I'm just, I knew it wasn't going to work because it never worked.
Yeah.
Kids move in and the foster parents make them leave. And plus I knew it wasn't going to work because Russell was a World War II veteran, and he and I had already made that eye contact that older men and young boys make. And, that kind of looked like this, like,
yeah, ain't happening.
Ain't gonna work, boy. Not around here. So, I didn't unpack. I stayed there, and about 4 or 5 days into the stay, very long story short, I ran into Mr. Costner in the hallway, and he stopped me and he said, I need to talk to you. And I knew this conversation wasn't going to last long because he wasn't the type of guy that talked a lot, but when he did speak, you didn't misunderstand a word he said.
Yeah.
And he just said, sit down. I sat down in his chair and he went across the living room and he did just like this. Governor, he said, if you're going to stay in my home, there's two things you've got to do.
Holding people.
And I wanted to tell him, let me tell you.
You don't want to mess it up, though, right?
No, I'm looking at him because I'm like, he said, the first thing you've got to do, you've got to cut off all of your hair. If you're going to stay in my home, there's two things you got to do. First thing you got to do is cut off all of your hair. We want you to go to church, and if you don't do those two things, you've got to leave now. And I ended up staying with them 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Changed my life. 3 months after I moved in, Mr. Costner was diagnosed with terminal cancer and passed away. So now it's me and 75-year-old B. Her name was Beatrice Costner. If you prefer, you just call her B. And I ended up staying there with her for 6 years and kept the grass cut, did the chores, and, you know, she nurtured my love for music. She wrote poems. She played piano in church. And she was always singing in the house. Beautiful voice. And she would always encourage me, you know, you should write some more songs, and she loved to listen to them. And they weren't great songs, but she really nurtured that love a lot.
Well, you're writing some great stuff now. And this book that you've written is fantastic,
Well, thank
Walk to Beautiful.
Yes, sir.
And you've done something, Jimmy, that I'm just blown away by. You walked from Nashville, Tennessee to Phoenix, Arizona to bring awareness of the importance of foster children and of raising the age of foster children from 18 to 21. Because of your work, several states have now raised the age for foster children.
Absolutely.
That's clearly important to you.
Yes.
Obviously, for now, we understand the reason.
Absolutely. Well, New Mexico just extended foster care to age 21 as of this week. So that's, I think it's the 29th state to do that. And what it does, it saves each state money when they do this. And I hope that every state would recognize that.
Because a lot of the kids, if they don't have a place to go, they end up getting into trouble,
jail,
incarcerated. It costs more. I know this for a fact as a governor. It costs more to put a person in prison for 1 year than it does to put them in any college or university in that state.
That's right.
Pay full tuition, all their books, room and board, and give them spending money.
Yep.
It makes a better investment.
So why not help them now and give them 2-3 additional years to transition into adulthood and become productive citizens, rather than waiting till they're in their 20s and having to take care of them while they're in jail. But I want to say something about this book. I did walk halfway across America every step of the way. I met some really incredible people. I met some great people in Arkansas.
Good.
And some funny folks.
There are a few of those. They're probably my relatives.
I met some funny folks in Arkansas. But I wrote this book with Ken Abraham, who is he's probably now 18-time New York Times best-selling author. But it's like all the stars just lined up. When I got back from the walk, I didn't know what the next step was going to be. And I heard that voice say, start writing your story. And it started out, was going to be Facebook blogs.
Wow.
But it just goes to show you what God does with ideas that you have, these small ideas you have. He says, no, it's not going to be a Facebook blog. It's going to be a 3-time New York Times bestseller. That's what I'm going to do with it. And he has.
Well, God has his hand on you. The song that you're going to do with us in a few moments is one of the most just gut-punching, beautiful, stunning songs I have heard in years.
Thank you.
I can't wait for us to be able to do it. I just want to tell you something, Jimmy. God has blessed you and blessed us with having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as Jimmy gets ready to sing, Keith is going to tell you how you can get this inspiring book, Walk to Beautiful, and stay connected with Jimmy Wayne. Keith?
Well, to get Jimmy's book, Walk to Beautiful, The Power of Love and a Homeless Kid Who Found the Way, please go to jimmywayne.com. There you can find all his music, concerts, and booking information as a keynote speaker. That's jimmywayne.com.